Tempo Storm 1 game away from being able to erase the blip of losing 1 game to Superstars. An otherwise pretty clean series, although Superstars brought it to them on Dragonshire.
They did. They have put up a fight in game number 2 and 3 there on Dragonshire. So it makes me excited for the future, depending on the map. How successful we're going to really see Superstars be here in this 4th game.
But while we still let the teams get ready for the next draft, we have a tweet because you guys are so awesome at home hanging out watching HGC on your Sunday. Thank you for that. We've got a tweet from Death by Smiley. 5-man Bolt Dream, June Hotz is a god.
He very much is. You know, he is... I've said it over and over again. I feel like a big part of the reason that Tempo Storm has had the success that they have had as a group, core group, just purely based on his heals, his plays. Yeah,
the top 5 KDAs of HGC North America so far this week. 3 of them claimed by Gale Force Esports, talked about that yesterday, but the other 2 are by Tempo Storm. And June has been solidly at the top since, I think, week 3-ish. Week 3 or 4 for NA HGC. Once Yoda fell down, June took over.
He did. After Tempo Storm, or Team 8, you know, Yoda went, did really, really well early on, and Yoda was just like miles ahead of everybody else. But quickly, after things started to balance out, yeah, Tempo, you know, June, he has never let go of it. It's crazy to think, but I mean, it shows in his play. He is constantly making all the right choices. You're never like, oh, here goes June getting caught out again. You know, it's the only thing you ever have to say is like, that was a good play. And the few times that it's not perfect, you can still definitely see what he was going for.
Maybe that's why we had the Karazim pick on Towers. We just wanted to pad his stats.
Yeah.
Just slightly.
Yeah, flex out the hero pool a little bit more, you know, work on the stat numbers.
Battleground is ready, so let's figure out what it is. A reminder, Superstars lost the last game. They've chosen first pick. So Tempo Storm heading to Tomb. Again, a Battleground that Superstars don't mind too, though. Both of these teams, very similar favored Battlegrounds.
I do look at the fact that Braxis and BOE haven't been touched, though, as so strange compared to part 1. I like it. I like the new priority for maps. They're ones I find more enjoyment out of not only watching, but I just feel like when it comes to the strategic side of them. So I like that we see this shift, but again, it's just so really, I just find it beyond interesting.
In this series, Battlefield for me makes sense that we haven't seen it yet, but Braxis is extremely interesting that it hasn't been there. But then again, really so far it's been Gale Force Esports who has that Braxis holdout signature style now that has been taking over. Superstars lost to that versus Gale Force, so maybe not feeling as confident there. They also lost to Freedom on Braxis too.
So for Tomb, I'm not even going to talk about the bans anymore. I'm just going to let them happen because we can only talk about Zarya and Tassadar about 46.5 million times before I just get done of talking about Zarya and Tassadar.
It's understandable. First pick Malf then?
Yeah. We can just drop 4 of them. We should put a side screen and be Dread and Gilly traps. Can you imagine if we force them, we just draft for them all the time and just we're like, here's the heroes you have to play.
What if we had 1 week where it was reverse draft? You needed to draft for each other.
That I have played in a show match that was like that, and it's pretty hectic. You know, it was pretty crazy. I think we had Gazlo and Murky on our squad. Gazlo, Murky, like asthma, was like a full specialist.
Whoa, dude. No Zarya.
Let's talk about the bans. But no, that's not that crazy.
I know.
It does allude to the fact that it's going to be
sometimes we just have to celebrate the small things.
No, I get it. I get it, you know. And, you know, on the fact we're celebrating small things, really, I would like to commend you for your top-tier analysis and suggesting that this may or may not be the first pick.
You know, Dread, I had a lot of factors went into that decision, and it took some time. I would say a solid 2 seconds to figure out who I thought would be in that first pick place, but I thank you for your commendation.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I was sitting here and I was trying to posture. I was like, what is, you know, she truly bringing to this position, her standing? And it wasn't until you took those 2 seconds, thought about Malfurion, and I was like, I have found it. I figured it out once again.
It's the second time I've gotten a Dread Clap today. Things are happening, people.
Not in the draft, though, as we are stuck in limbo, baby. All right, so first thoughts has got to be on the side of Tempo. Arthas, what? Do they go with the Arthas Lucio this high up? Do they go with something else, or do they take the Zarya? Zarya, I think Vala is a must deny here. like a holy cow, please deny Zarya or Valla. It's going to be the Zarya, and they're going to go with the Greymane instead. So they're going to give up the Valla to the other side. The Zarya Valla is what you fear, so you have to remove one of the two. I just like the Valla a bit more because it complements the map. You know, it does fit Tempo Storm's playstyle. It's just, I'm not as sold on Zarya outside of the comps we know she's insane at. Every other situation, I've been like, she's decent, but we don't see any alternative variations of that original composition with the Ariel and then a hyper carry in the backline. You know, it's just, that's the comp, and then she's good as another pseudo support. But we have always known those are decent, but the pseudo support without a hyper carry is beatable. Always has been.
How do you feel about Greymane paired with Zarya?
I mean, it's a good duo. It very much is, but it doesn't give you, again, the Trinity and the ability to spec into that. And there's no way Superstars lets it go that far into the draft after early Zarya that high, which is why I just kind of go, I'd rather a Valla. You know, but Superstars here going deep in their time pool. 7 seconds left. So what are we going to see? Tychus and the Arthas. So an Arthas now for Superstars rather than Tempo Storm and the Tychus. That is higher for them, I believe, than traditionally.
Yeah.
The Tychus, yeah, is rather high. They almost always pick it up after the second ban phase if they put any focus into him whatsoever.
They have not played very many games in the history of HGC NA with Tychus.
Huh. I'm going to be really interested in seeing how that plays out and what they look to do. And New Barak or Kel'Thas seem to be the hovers.
Trying to deny whatever double warrior strategy might be coming out for Superstars. Superstars don't always draft double warrior, but they were most successful in part 1, win rate wise. Why do I do that to myself? When they would play double warrior.
What do you? Oh man. So if Superstars is in a position to ban the Lunara right now, that would be nailed it. But then they give up the Valla because they didn't pick Valla in their last rotation, right? So what Superstars' thought process right now has to be is essentially they see the Zarya on the other side. The Anubarak was banned out, which leads to a mage. Gul'dan is already off the table. The only other mage that is screamed towards Tomb of the Spider Queen would be the Zarya Lunara enabling the Greymane. But you don't want to give up Zarya Valla because then there will be an Ariel right after. So then you have to go, do we ban the Lunara, do we ban the Ariel, or do we ban a Valla?
What about Varian?
None of those things were the case, and now I feel like Tempo Storm really gains a lot of momentum in this draft. How you just Valla Ariel and you win. All right, I'm missing something, aren't I? Because they didn't insta-lock it, so I'm obviously I'm missing something. Give me a moment here. You know when something's too good to be true and you just can't accept that maybe it's just not? That's me right now. I just... And Tempo Storm feels the same way.
I just want to see it. Kel'Thas.
Tempo Storm was just offered a Zarya, a Valla, and an Ariel on Tomb of the Spider Queen and opted out of it. I'm trying. It's just... Because of how prominent that strategy was in North America, and then it wasn't so much in Korea, it was decent respect, but then more recently in Korea, it has become almost law. It feels like anytime you can get your hands towards those 3, I just figured North America would kind of follow suit.
Juna's only played Ariel once.
I mean,
I have a hard time believing that he's not wanting to, not willing to, not able to. But generally when they...
What KT can do is complement the wave clear better than a Lunara could, but I do question if it's better than the... Again, better than the Valla itself. Man, that is...
Is Chromie Dissuade?
I gotta remember
pick
to
now.
write this. Was Chromie Dissuade the Ariel pick? Yeah, it does. The Chromie would be the biggest fear out of the side of Tempo Storm when it comes to the bans. For sure, when they went that direction, which I see that as the main argument of what I missed to why you wouldn't go into those 3.
It is Tomb as well.
I just feel like, my goodness, you know, you got your opportunity. That would be the one reason. Yeah, it's the Chromie and the threat that she would provide. But Tempo still have a very good composition. Not maybe as much initiation as they would want, but they've got really good follow-up coming up for the Kael'thas. The damage is going to be there from the Greymane. So their comp is looking good. The other side is Superstars here. They've got a really good 1v1er, which is rare to say about Superstars. They seem to neglect that lane more than almost any other. And their 4-man is okay. It will lose pretty quickly to Tempo Storm so heavily that they can actually baby the Ragnaros lane pretty effectively. But it's good. It's decent. The team fight phase, I do think actually Tempo skyrockets ahead. So, but Superstars doesn't win enough in the laning phase for me to totally be convinced. It just feels like they only win one lane and they lose the 4-man so much that it will cripple the Ragnaros.
The Tyke is so high up is still throwing me for a loop for Superstars. That's the main thing that threw me for a loop. Well, the ban, Varian ban too.
Yeah, coming out from them because the Tychus, it just seemed a bit out of place and not their play style.
Yeah.
And then the Varian ban, Zarya, Varian, Greymane, they're afraid to Curse Bullet. Maybe Curse Bullet taunt with, because, I mean, they had success. It was what they won with against Tempo Storm with. But I agree with you. Both of those seem very kind of out of place for Superstar specifically.
Well, we're getting into the later games, which means the adaptations are real in draft. We'll see how it pays off for our teams in game number 4.
So we have Psalm on the KT, and that will be able to really, you know, just wave clear all day on top of the Johanna. Johanna is one of the, KT and Vala are 2 of the heroes in the game that actually do work well with Johanna. Really, like, enough to be like, you could say Johanna is your initiation based on the clumping of the AoE for either Rain of Vengeance or Kael'thas Q. So I do like that a lot more.
Especially on Tomb.
Yeah. Just for this map, I do like the duo of those 2. I'm always hypercritical of, you know, when Johanna is picked in what situation, but this is one of the few where I'm like, you know, I think you got a lot going for you, and you have so much damage out of the KT alone that they are going to be just fine. And those 2 single-handedly one-shot him anyway. Watch this. And it's dead.
Gravity Lapse. Sorry, already in trouble. Very early first blood for Team Tempo Storm. Checking out phase build. Not the normal Time Walker's Pursuit at level 1 that we see. Multi-regional, but again, this is Faye. Faye always deviates, or often deviates in her talent builds, but compounding Ether instead, so focusing on amping up damage for Sandblast.
I have had this conversation with Trick quite often about the Chromie level 1, and as I put it to, or he puts it to me in the argument as why he always goes for the compounding is he just likes the dings. So, you know, you know, Faye might just like the dings. You get that shot of dopamine you might need, you know, at that point in time. Every time you hear the ding, you're like, I'm doing a good job.
Yeah, especially
I'm doing good things.
It's a long winding up ability, right? So you hit it, you're like, oh yeah.
Every single time, you're just like, you know, I'm bettering my team's chances of getting a win here.
Now she can get double because Piercing Sands at level 2.
Sray falls victim once again here. Second death before 2-minute mark here. He is the solo frontline and not too good of a backline to be able to support him, but he's trying to match the wave clear problem that is existing on the side of Tempo Storm, and Arthas is one of the better, man, that's really sad to say, one of the better wave clearers on their team. And Tempo Storm has immense wave clear. I mean, you know, I've been complimenting the KT Johanna. Those 2 alone legitimately can one-shot mini waves. So it's just Superstars here kind of has to, rather than pick their battles, I guess, is what I'm saying, a little bit more safe, as once again, he is kind of just out on his own.
Yeah, and his team's struggling and trying to keep up with him. Even Iacona took Moonburn. Though this is the norm now in NA, but trying to help out with that wave clear. Still, Tempo Storm keeping ahead in that, as well as, like you said, possibly being able to baby the gray main lane. Rhaegar went down and took out Giants. Rhaegar is going to be taken down here too, so Superstars claim a kill.
Not only that, claiming a kill on June. That, you know, that's going to hurt the numbers we were just bragging up all day.
Oh no!
He will not sit at the top, no. There's going to be the Iron Skin.
I think he's probably still going to be at the top with one death. But you know.
Probably.
The game is young, and he is on Rhaegar, who has butt bites.
And we do see him actually getting some variation with his level 4 with that Spearwalker's Grace. Usually leads to the title wins at 13. We talk about the Q build version of Rhaegar. It will be able to help with the AoE just poke that's going to exist from Chromie, be able to keep the team's health bars a bit higher there with this type of build that we see him going into.
Yeah, Chromie is full on just damaging with spells. Trying to up it with Compounding Ether at 1, now getting Dragon's Eye at level 7. She is going to be hopefully tossing out the numbers as long as those skill shots can hit.
Yeah, she's building full offense. Like in a dream world where you hit every Q, probably the best build for the game. Talking about hitting every Q, when the Howling Blast is going to be the prep, that cost Psalm his life.
And Kona was there with the roots just to make sure, so a lot of lockdown possibilities to make sure that Chromie can land all these skill shots to get quick kills. Looking at Compounding Ether, we're getting close to being done with the stacks.
We were talking about better picking your fights for Superstars. That was a perfect example of that. Rather than kind of trying to match the wave clear and just taking free damage from the Kel'Thas and from the Condemn coming out from Johanna, instead going like, you know, looking for a flank. Obviously, getting the kill is always like, well, duh, that was a smart choice. But it still was like, even if they didn't, that was a far better approach to those skirmishes than we've ever seen out of Superstars before that point.
And getting 7 is going to help a lot with that Icebound Fortitude Cleanse and even Relentless Soldier. Picked by Hosty on Tychus. So being able to help out, make sure that if someone gets caught by Gravity Lapse, as long as they're preempting with Icebound Fortitude, if Srey is the target, I'll help with that.
Now the Web Weaver's marching for tempo. We see the Molten Core here to try and rid of them as fast as possible on bottom. Tychus is doing his thing on mid, so the front walls, honestly, Tempo Storm is not going to get much out of this. Another combo between the Howling Blast and Faye.
Srey slowing down. Iokona's moving in, looking to see. Zarya is just deleted.
Yeah, that was Faye with max range WQ there. Shout out to Hosty for prepping the shield to make sure that could be possible. But the two-man push on bottom was able to take out an entire fort even with the Molten Core being used. Did not expect that. A full fort. Even in a 2v1 into a Ragnaros here, there's no Web Weaver that's that strong in this world. I feel like something must have happened down there.
Yeah, we were watching the fight on top. But that is strange. And that does afford Tempo Storm still a half-level advantage, even despite losing that kill.
Turn in there on bottom for Superstars. They're now sitting 1 gem away. They'll actually have enough for a double turn in here, but it's all eyes on the power spike to level 10. Howling Blast is not going to be dropped. Iacona got a nice prep route there to be able to get that kill. So with Tempo Storm closing in on the 10, it's going to force Superstars to be rather passive here. If they can get any structure damage out before that point and, you know, catch Tempo on a poor rotation, it would be huge. But it looks like Tempo's kind of covering all their bases here.
Yeah, a lot of the lanes were pushed back too, so Tempo can get most of their damage, most of their defense here in the mid lane. Greymane's trying to deal with the top Web Weaver too, so Superstars only hope for getting a lot of structural damage done other than to try to siege along with this mid and maybe Faye make sure to hit those skill shots, which Slowing Sands will help enable, is to hope that if they can keep Tempo Storm busy here in the mid, maybe top can do some work.
Yeah, this is just going to be buying time, and they're doing a good job. Kel'Thas is making the rotation out, but the rest of the members of Superstars look like they're trying to flank. Srey possibly caught up on mid. Psalm survived the siege up on top.
His health is falling, is about halfway.
But it looks like Srey is going to make it out himself here. So Superstars with a very productive turn-in have enough in their bank to be able to get a secondary turn-in right after this too.
How much does Tempo Storm set up to stop it is the question. They have Shield Glare from Fury. That's going to be a very good one. Psalm 2 can throw out his skill shots to stop. And grenades for a long time. So there's a lot of poke to be able to stall out the turn-ins. It's all about how they can set up guarding 2. We even talked about it last game, trying to guard both of the turn-in points at the same time on Tomb. Can be difficult. You have to make sure you have the right split.
Yeah, you have to have the proper split, and like heroes like Chromie are obviously insanely effective. Malfurion is pretty good there with the Elune's Grace. Tychus without quarterback, not nearly as effective at getting that delay. Risk positioning a lot more. Tempo Storm has enough for a turn-in of their own, but they don't look like they're trying to force it yet. Just more looking to zone out Superstars here. Ragnaros is done clearing out the bottom lane. It looks like he's gonna try and join turn-in attempts here up on top.
0 on either side. Ragnaros gets caught.
He's gonna make it out. June there trying to get the heals out. Still not going to have the option to get 13 for the tidal waves to really be able to deal with the poke of Chromie if she's on point. Goku's caught out.
Goku's caught. Cleanse used. Here comes the turn though. Sray's moving in. Has his eye set on Psalm. Sulfurous smashes. Ragnaros goes down. Sray has popped Army of the Dead.
Yeah, isolating Iacona there. No way to get a Twilight Dream off to try and peel for the team. That is going to be the first kill of this skirmish. Another attempt.
Condemned from Fury pulls in Iacona. Sray is desperate to turn in. He now has 45 gems just by himself. Getting those turned in would be huge because then he can more effectively zone for his teammates. You never want to have that many on your warrior player, especially with the solo warrior composition that Superstars has.
Yeah, it's so hard to be able to try and zone compared to the Arthas. You know, Chromie does, luckily, is such a good staller and actually zoner herself. It can kind of make up for that, you know, disadvantage. Gravity Lapse, though, onto the 45 gem target. Goku gets expulsion zoned once more, and his flame is going to be set to rest. Fury trying to body block out Sray.
He has 45 Blessed Shield. Sray's in trouble. He drops. Can they pick up these gems? Tempo Storm trying to guard at least one of the 20 gems, and they will do it. So half of the gems of Sray himself dropping down to oblivion.
That was not good for Superstars, losing that many. They still are in a point where they're just out of range to be able to get a turn in. So that part is a breath of fresh air for Superstars, because if you didn't have enough for a counter turn in, the experience would drastically go in favor of Tempo. But it's still losing a double turn in power play, which could have led to a keep. Like that still is, anytime you lose more than probably 15 gems on a hero, a pretty big setback for a team on 2.
Even just demoralizing to lose those when they had been holding on to so many at once. Yeah, they still have turn-ins, but knowing in the late game, if it goes super late game, that it can come down to who gets that turn-in, losing 20 gems. You know that is something on Superstars' mind now as they go for a fight. Molten swing it, so many Sulfurous Smash too. Cleanse gets some out of there. Twilight Dream does do some damage, but so far, Tempo Storm walking out.
Yeah, Sray is trying not to be done here, but Fury still, I believe, has the Iron Skin. He's trying to slow everybody out. There it is. Makes it away, buying the time for top and bottom Web Weavers to do their thing. Ridding of that fort already. Bottom is looking at the keep from wall, and the mid fort's going to now fall for Superstars. Tempo Storm has got everything going for them here in this 4th game to be able to close out the series.
They've spiked ahead in experience thanks to getting the 2 forts now. Looking at some towers too. Cleansing Shield, or Spell Barrier from Zarya. Trying to help make sure that she can deal with some of the damage that Chromie's been chunking out. It's an interesting thing I wanted to mention early on, but didn't get to. Cothenluck playing Zarya instead of Caterpillar.
Yeah, that is actually really strange. I wonder if that's just more of a lack of Greymane from Cothen than it is anything. And honestly, Zarya plays more of a caster than even, you know, Greymane does, which is a really interesting thought to be able to think about. But hold on a minute here. We've got ourselves a skirmish. There's going to be the condemned use body block attempts coming out from Sray, but he is a bit out of position. The expulsion zone's used. Faye is just getting ripped through there by that Phoenix. Everybody on Superstars HP way too low. They understand that they're going to try and retreat. What can Kato make happen?
Oh, he was looking to see if he could get the kill on Faye, but turns around instead and takes out Sray, diving back to the team. Looking at Goku, slow from Fury, Condemned pulled in. Gravity Lapse misses. Goku trying to buy time for his team, but eventually he will drop. 2 kills, furthering Tempo Storm's lead as they look to 16.
They not only look to 16, they have an opportunity to make a boss play here if they would like. They would have to force it instantly, so this hesitation on mid shows that is going to be more emphasis just on using that 16, getting a turn in here, and really just opening up the map. Opening up win condition for Tomb of the Spider Queen, which we know at times can be very, very rare, but with Tempo getting such a big lead, should be very confident here in this next rotation. Even having Giants on bottom pushing out too.
Chromie was keeping tabs on the top turn in, but the rest of Tempo Storm hanging out in bot, getting the last few gems needed for Web Weavers.
That is one of the most subtle arguments. Not so much argument, it's more of, it's one of those things where some talents are truly hard to gauge the impact that they have. Like it's almost like Malfurion having passive mana regen on Twilight Dream is one of the most underestimated buffs I think that have ever happened to Malfurion, period.
Yeah.
And it's one of those ones where you see it and you're like, I know this is a buff. My character is in fact definitely better than he was before, but how much so? You know the number, but you don't know the impact that's going to have on the game. Not going with the traditional level 1, focusing on the glows, but the vision provided by Chromie and going into compounding ether, that would have been a far better delay attempt. I think it's just really underestimated aspect of, in my opinion, what is one of the strongest level 1 talents in the entire game.
Yeah, especially because vision in general. Oh, look at this. Ragnaros turns around, swing hits everyone.
Smash! Oh! He just ruined it. That was so good. They legitimately were so perfectly clumped. Oh, man. The minute he dropped that swing, that is the moment where you just go, guys, what won the fight for us? We're good. We're good.
And that, boys and girls, is why Ragnaros is still in.
Gosh, they were just so clumped. They all got the dead center powers. Oh, man.
Yikes.
Superstars with that miraculous victory thanks to Goku is going to be able to pick up a boss here, ridding of the gems because Tempo didn't turn in yet. They just lost, right? They lost 40 gems, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Wait, no, did
they force the turn in?
Yeah,
they fought on it?
They fought because they're at 65 now needing. So they had a turn, they fought on it, they were pushing, and that's when the Molten Core was behind them.
Honestly, I feel like that Molten Core hit me, dude. I like blacked out after that. I was like, what happened?
That's all we will ever remember from this game.
Yeah.
Is the game where Goku became legend. Super Saiyan complete. Srey.
Wishing he was Super Saiyan here. Not the 4th, though. We don't talk about that one. That didn't happen. They have 98 gems for Superstars. The boss is still threatening top. When Tempo responds, they're going to try and force this turn into the bottom turn in. Tempo going, hey, 15-minute boss isn't that threatening. It should get at least some damage onto the keep front wall, maybe a bit of damage onto the keep, but it will not be an entire one.
52 gems on Kona. He's like, good luck, Hosties. See you later. Here's a heal. Srey way far deep and separated out from Expulsion Zone, destroyed by Tempo Storm as Odin was dropped for Hostie. Superstars having trouble getting this turn in.
Even losing a member, but the boss we see is still doing a bit of work. For the first time here, Kato is actually back to respond to that, but that's still setting a 4 versus 4 at this part of the game. So now Tempo Storm with that pick and being able to send somebody back here. The most important thing is the fact that obviously Superstar still has enough for another turn in, but they're closing in on that 20 threshold that will be able to allow them to, again, restore the pace that we knew out of the first part of this game where they had full control.
Bruisers may try to force positioning of Tempo Storm to allow Superstars to get the turn in. They're desperately needing to take down the final forts of Tempo Storm and catch up in that experience game. It's a matter if they can get it. Oh, so many gems being held by Iacona too.
Got to be a sneaky snake with it. Bait everybody top. But you know, when one person has that many gems too, that's all they look for, right? Because they know he's got the solo turn-in on his own, so he's the one.
Look for the tree.
We got to find the mouth. Doesn't help. He's like one of the easiest characters, 100 to 0, as long as Icebox on cooldown too, right? Like it's just, it's a scary position up until you hit the 20 mark, and even then, we know, for instance, Malfurion is so effective with 20 because he can Twilight to get, or Bolt to get a perfect Twilight. But then do you do that? Because then if you don't get the kill, then you lose the 50 gems. It just makes, when you're that many gems in your possession changes entirely how you play the game.
Yeah, even in the last fight, Icona was like, good luck, guys. I am not leaving the very back line, the very deep line. Here, the rest of the fight is starting, though, with Odin dropping.
Icona started the channel already. Flashlight didn't hit him. That is going to be 52 gems in. Mission complete. Sulfura smash, but the Ancestral going to negate it.
Gravity Lapse stops Srey. Get Johanna out. Goku gets the remaining turn-in. Expulsion Zone hits Srey again. This guy has been constantly focused on Expulsion Zone, losing Arthas at the start of this turn-in. Ice Block hits, but Icona's like, well, now at least I've turned him in.
I've got the Web Weavers there, and since it's 1-for-1, who does that hurt more? I'm going to say it hurts Tempo Storm or Superstars more in the fact they don't have the front line. There's going to be a Molten Core.
No, thank you.
Not even needed.
Tempo Storm turned around so fast.
Yeah, like we saw what happened last time. Turns out that huge hammer that you swing across, in fact, is about as strong as it looks in size. No way. Give me
okay. That's out of range now.
The top Web Weaver was pushed so far back too that it's unlikely to get much to happen there. Cattle took significantly more damage. Yeah, it was. Not chocolate, but in fact lead.
Do the impression.
I can't, dude. I cannot do my impressions live.
You mentioned it.
Nope, wasn't me. That's something I think I refuse. I am willing to be a little bit of the dweeb that in fact is Dreadnought. But I don't know if I can do my mid-tier impressions of things.
Oh, I think they're better than mid-tier.
You know, I think you're just saying that to try and get me, you know.
Never.
Nah. Gilly is obviously, through her kind smile and positive things she has said all day, way nicer than that. I don't know why I would ever expect that of you. I apologize. Superstars is going to manage to get 20, so we have a game on our hands. Both teams have enough for a turn-in. Turn-in going to be started by Tempo Storm. Superstars about 5 seconds too late. That feels bad.
One more. Battle's there. Howling Blast.
No way. Oh my gosh.
Howling Blast range.
How did Tempo was like there 5 seconds too early, but Cattle actually kind of derped around a bit as well. They stalled out for a long period of time, so I thought Superstars, there was no way, because Tempo was so like, we're turning in, and still somehow they don't get it.
They were one away. Did they do the math wrong on who needed to turn in?
I think at first when it comes to how many people committed, because a couple were definitely dangling around up in middle, and there was some
thinking they should be those zoners.
Either way, there was miscommunication somewhere.
Yeah.
Either miscounted or miscommunication when it comes to decision making, because you know Tempo was like, just turn in.
Yeah.
We're going to force this. Superstars now might be able to get not only another keep, enough kills, and they in fact could get the game. Big Red Button and Molten Core is going to be used, but we have heroic difficulty.
And because that boss was ignored for a long time, that Web Weaver is going to sit right on top of the keep that's already taken damage. We're using Odin to siege here in the mid. They're forcing Tempo Storm to choose how they lose, at least when it comes to a keep. Caterpillar sitting on the top lane, trying to clear out that Web Weaver in time. Seeing that, Posty steps forward, trying to put the damage down, even with the Molten Core 2. So that will almost be the keep here in the mid. Top one is saved.
But bottom is still alive, so they have to capitalize on the fact that if anybody rotates the bottom, which we still had vision over Kael'thas there through that, they needed to look to all in again, questioning, do you all in and commit to those type of fights or not? Superstars is going to play the more passive route here, retreating, but you know, the elephant in the room is the fact that Tempo Storm still has enough coins or gems for a turn-in, and they in fact did not lose a keep.
They saved all 3 of their keeps.
That is a this should not happen type situation. When you turn in as Superstars right there, you go, I want a minimum 1 keep. Like 2 keeps is good, and past that point could be game, right? Like you don't ever call for the triple keep play, because then it's more likely you could have just ended anyways, but they're not happy with that. I can tell you that much.
Srey was very away from the rest of Superstars. But the best they can do is hope to push these lanes out and see if they can make the same type of miraculous defense that Tempo Storm just gave.
They are gonna need it. Odin is now back online, so at least they have the big red button there. The trap lands on a Fury, and they're able to put out a pretty large amount of damage there. Howling Blast landed onto 1. Srey is going to drop Army of the Dead. Molten Core is used, but they're going to retreat right on back to that structure as they know that to be home. There's the Sulfura Smash, the Twilight Dream. They get the pick. Can they get another? There's going to be the 20 for Fury.
Indestructible. Faye blows up Greymane, and they're still chasing down Fury, who takes damage from that. Hosty should be able to poke him down. There he goes. 3 kills for Superstars. The Web Weavers were picked up by Tempo Storm, but with 3 down.
Okay, so what we have to look at is all the minion waves are pushing against Superstars, so they have to do this without a tank. They have to tank every ounce of damage, is what I'm trying to say. And look at how low in HP they are.
Yeah, versus Kael'thas.
They have to just run for a triple key play or something. Oh man, they're gonna go for it. Oh.
They've taken a lot of Flame Strike damage. Superstars heads for the core. They want to end this game. They want to take us to game number 5, but Goku's already down. Can Superstars do this? They have Chromie. They have Hosty. Icon is there. Chromie is lost. Superstars losing their members to this 2-man defense. Some even receiving ancestral healing to be able to continue the siege. Srey, the next to fall. June jumping on Hosty, and at the end of the line, Superstars wipes on the core.
I can understand why they made the decisions they made on the side of Superstars there at the very end. They felt like that was the only win condition that was going to be up for them for some time. And with the Web Weavers pushing in, it just would have bought so much time that everybody on Tempo Storm would have spawned. They would have gone back to square one and go, how do we end up winning this game? But not understanding into a Kael'thas, more importantly, it was more of a comp thing, right? Because traditionally, 3 people dead like that, you should be able to win. But into the KT, and then with the Arthas, not with the type of build that he has, doesn't have the self-sustain to keep himself up. Mouth isn't necessarily the best in that position, especially when he loses the hard focus bonus. And that allows Tempo Storm to turn it around and actually take the series. 3-1 over Superstars.
Some amazing plays from Superstars this series, but just not quite enough. It did net them 1 game win, but Tempo Storm still taking the series. Superstars did bring it.
They did.
And even more so, they took a game off of Tempo Storm where they weren't able to versus Gale Force.
I mean, even that last game, in theory, there was, if they just one bad decision lost in the game, right? They still had a very reasonable chance to be able to come back and win that game too, and that would have meant moving into game 5 still a win in my book. You know what they managed to do here today versus Tempo Storm. Honestly, I normally after upset, and then now a solid performance from again one of those kind of questionable area teams, I would normally be really excited for North America because that it usually is going to be something beneficial. But now I'm beginning to question if it's the opposite, that it's actually more of a crippling kind of towards the top, and quickly they put on a facade in week number 1 of part 2, and now in week 2, teams figured it out, a little bit of scrims here and there, and it's quickly kind of crumbling.
What makes you say that? Just the performance that they lost a game? Because otherwise, Tempo Storm...
It's just the fact that no tomorrow, then going into B-Step and being able to get those wins, and the fact that Superstars was putting up such a good fight makes me feel like almost every time that we see a region have a huge shift in dynamic power play, it almost always is a weak sign rather than it is a stronger one. The only exception to that has always been Korea, and that's with the the cycling of the first place team. That's the only exception. Every other region that happens in, it is almost always a step back. And I'm not saying when I view the games, the analysis that I have, I feel like we have taken a step forward. I do feel that way, but it's contradictory to, again, the past and the trends that we see in competitive heroes. It feels, I'm not saying that it is that way, but I have this sick feeling inside that I'm like, maybe this is not as good as it seems. Even though, again, I feel like we have taken steps forward.
Well, I think that we can definitely get some views maybe on that, but definitely on these games too from Psalm. And the Mickey bed sheets, more importantly. Not more importantly, but, close. Hey, Psalm, congratulations. How are you guys feeling about your series versus Superstars today?
I don't think we played too well. The team game, we should have let that rag flank us. That's a basic. Have a tank, anchor, whatever flank, and we would have closed that game out with like a 3-4 level lead. Not too happy with that. Towers game, we just got outdrafted. Not happy about that either. But other than that, we did all right. Dragonshire is Dragonshire. You can't close the game out whenever you want. It's just if they play passive, Dragonshire is gonna go past 20 like all the time. So,
out of all the series that you guys have played so far, what would you say has been you guys' strongest performance as a team in part 2?
I think our strongest performance has probably been versus Team 8. I think we put in a lot of prep and a lot of time and planning for it, and it showed. It showed.
Awesome. Dread?
In that series specifically, the draft on towers, I just wanted to hear your thought because you said that you feel like you guys got outdrafted, but Superstars obviously showed that they put a lot more research into the things that they were looking to make happen, like, for instance, the Valier ban. Into you guys, do you feel like that was kind of a one-off thing and you weren't considering them doing that much research, or do you feel like it's more that you guys need to expand kind of the strategies of drafting that you're looking to move forward with?
I don't think we executed what we had planned very well. I think that we were not expecting them to pick Raymond and Zeratul that early, and because we were greedy in that regard, we just kind of got screwed on the draft.
Okay. So it was more of a greed type deal on your guys' end in the draft? Okay.
Well, Sam, I think that's all the questions that we have, but you are going to be playing versus Team Freedom on Friday. Any thoughts maybe how that matchup will go down?
Team Freedom's a great team. I actually thought based off scrim results and strength that they would be like top 4. And I think they do still have the strength to contend with the top 4. But yeah, it should be a good match.
Great. Do you have any shout-outs? We'll let you do those now.
Yeah, shout out to Temple Storm, first off, of course. Shout out to my family and friends who I live with, my girlfriend. Shout out to my teammates. Got to remember to watch the flank. That's the biggest thing. Yeah, we played great otherwise. And shout out to TwitchCat, of course. The Mickey Sheets are back for you guys because I was getting flamed. So
yeah. We appreciate you bringing them back. And congratulations again, Sam. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys.
Because I was getting flamed.
The Mickey Bed Sheets return to HGC in North America. Humble interview from Sam.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the disappointment, which is just based on the fact, again, with how dominant they are as a group of players, showing, the healthy competitor mindset to always be looking to improve. Nothing is okay, to lose to a team